Testing. 1, 2, testing. 1, 2. Oh, I like this one. I actually love this one. Showing up real early or staying out real late. That's what you really want to ask. You ready? Oh, they already know I got it queued up for the morning time. Let's go. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna make a series. It just literally just came to me. It's called the Sunday School series, where we actually listen to some doctors from the conscious community. We're gonna start with one of my favorites, Dr. Frances Quest Wilson. All right. Beautiful woman. And I know it's going to be a little controversial for some people, but it has to happen. All right. I'm doing this at a time where I have been myself, actually have been misjustified. Let's say that. And I'm about to take my justification back. So sit back and enjoy, all right? You already know. The late, the great Dr. Frances Quest Wilson.
When I was an undergrad, I went to Antioch College in Yellow Springs, Ohio. And I remember coming home and, having dinner with my family and grandmother and parents. Family and grandmother and parents and my sisters. When I was an undergrad, I went to Antioch College in Yellow Springs, Ohio. And I remember coming home and, having dinner with my family. When I was an undergrad, I went to Antioch College in Yellow Springs, Ohio. And I remember coming home and, having dinner with my family and grandmother and parents and my sisters at the dining room table. And so I made an announcement. I'm a Marxist. And my grandmother said, the more education they get, the dumber they get. But anyway, when I'm training in psychiatry and looking for the answer to be an effective psychiatrist with Black people, looking for the answer to racism. And I remember attending a Black Power Committee meeting. And as a matter of fact, I was doing a fellowship in child psychiatry at that point, and I would get a voice. And if you get a voice in here, you need to see a psychiatrist. If you get a voice in here, I think that's God talking to you. And the voice would say, and I would be writing up cases at the end of the day, and the voice would say, go to a Black Power Committee meeting. Just quietly. It wasn't frightening. So when ministers say they get a calling, I kind of know what they mean. And so this would happen over and over and over again. Again, it was subtle, very subtle, nothing to shake you up or anything, because I didn't go to meetings. And so I finally went to a Black Power Committee meeting. And after the meeting, people were sitting in somebody's apartment eating African food. And a gentleman was on the other side of the room. And I heard this man say, mind you, I'm looking for further answers to racism. And I hear this gentleman over there in the other corner saying, racism is a system. And it's like my mind, I'm looking for, they say when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And so I started talking to this person. The gentleman's name was Neely Fuller Jr. He wasn't a college professor. He was a guard at the Bureau of Engraving in the District of Columbia.
My apologies, guys. I'm definitely have to edit this one. But Neely Fuller actually wrote 2 books. One is called The Compensatory Code on Countering Racism. And the secondary book was The Compensatory Code, and it's like volume 2. Thick books, I'm telling you, but great reads if you were dealing with that. So, yeah. When I came across this information, I was caught up with a lot of how you say, like, I guess you say neighborhood stuff, like things that had nothing to do with production. So when I actually got in with this information, it actually helped me out a lot. So stay tuned.
Where they print the money. And this man had started writing about racism in the mid-1950s when he was in the Korean War. And he said he was seated on his station was on a radar site up in the mountains in Japan. And he started thinking about racism and thinking about what was going on in this country, in this part of the world. And he said that the language of segregation and desegregation didn't make much sense on that mountaintop. And he started thinking that racism is a system. Now I want to repeat after me, racism is a system. Now I consider.
And I'm not going to hold you. I don't watch this. I don't watch Dr. Frances Wilson over and over again because she is one of the most precise doctors that handle this type of talk or rhetoric or actual. This is entertainment purposes, of course, or actuality of the degrees that we're at right now. So enjoy.
Consider this gentleman one of the most profound thinkers of any color in the 20th century. Remember, we started the 20th century with our great sociologist, historian, Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois. And Dr. Du Bois told us in his book, Souls of Black Folks, in 1903, that the problem of the 20th century is the question of the color line between the lighter and darker races of mankind. And then mid-century, Neely Fuller Jr. came along with his book, and I hope that everybody will get his book who doesn't have a copy. His phone number is 202-484-5461. But it is a profound statement, analysis of looking at racism as a total system structure that functions in all areas of people activity.
So it's 10 minutes in it, right? So if you have a pen and a pad, and this is definitely something that you're into, I would really whoop it out, move the time down to 75.75%, and then take your notes, all right? But the first one was education.
Economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war, for the ultimate purpose of maintaining the power equation of white power over a relative non-white powerlessness. So being a psychiatrist, and at that point, that's the mid-1970s, late 1960s, we would sit up in my apartment, and that was when you're at an age you can sit up and debate till 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning and get up and go to work. That's not the case today. But I would listen to the discussion of Mr. Fuller. We had another colleague, Dr. Carl Hutchinson. He's deceased, Chicago physician. He was training in orthopedic surgery. And Mr. Fuller had a beautifully hand-printed, might have had 1,800 pages of beautifully handwritten notes, documentation of his ideas that he carried around in his suitcase. Dr. Carl Hutchinson said, "I will type this manuscript in between surgical cases." And so he took the handwritten manuscript and typed it. And I spent the next 17 years saying, this has got to be printed, so, got to be published. And so by 19.
So there's two parts on this one, right? Where there's an aspect of never giving up on what you believe in. And there's also, there's also an aspect of two people coming together and doing something will always make something happen faster than this one person. You know what I'm saying? And Dr. Francis Cress Welsing was intrigued the most only because that it was done correctly. And he didn't have a doctorate. All right. I wouldn't say that's the only reason, but clearly she said it.
1984, it was published. But I started raising the question. Psychiatrists always, old school psychiatrists, I say new school psychiatrists, are just supposed to, oh, you're depressed? Well, let me write a prescription. You see, oh, you're anxious? Let me write a prescription and goodbye. I'll see you next time for another 15 minutes. I'm old school. I see all my patients for 1 hour. I believe that you have to talk to people and understand and then help them understand so that they can graduate from the psychiatrist and go forward because they now understand reality in a different way. So I started saying, well, why? If indeed, and I say racism as a dynamic, racism as white supremacy has been the reality that Black people all over this planet have faced for the last 500 years. There's never been a moment, there's never been a minute, there's never been a day, there's never been a week where.
Make sure you hit that like button. If you want more information like this, make sure you comment, all right? I hope everybody's having an awesome day. Getting right back to this information, okay?
Where we have not been confronted with racism, white supremacy as a system. Never a half a minute. So I said, well, why would such a system be developed? And Mr. Fuller used to say to me, Francis, it's not important why, just learn what the system is. But, the psychiatrist in me, I got to understand why. See, that's where little children are brilliant. Little 2-year-old people, little 3-year-old people, they start saying, why? Why? And older people get annoyed, shut up. But don't ever tell a child. If a child is saying, why, mommy? Why, granny? Why? You may not know the answer. Just tell the child, I don't know the answer, but I'll try to find out for you. And if I don't find out and you study and learn, you'll find out. But the question why is what turns on the brain computer. The child is asking about cause and effect. And if you can begin to understand cause and effect, you begin to get a handle on dealing with reality. So I raised the question.
I really hope that didn't go over nobody's head, all right? Let me know if it did. If y'all, I'll run it back. Y'all see the title, y'all could go look it up, Dr. Francisco Wilson. This is some serious information that a lot of times people are scared to listen to or theoretically even watch because they think they don't have people knocking at the door. Only reason why I know this because I thought the same thing. But when you, like what she's about to say, when you realize it, you become aware. And that's when you start fighting back from the matrix, okay?
Question, well, why this reality of racism? As I said, my grandfather died in 1909, and he's talking about the problem of color. Dr. Du Bois talked about it in 1903. Every Black person that has been of significance to Black people has tried to grapple with what was happening, what was causing us to be oppressed, and raising issues or raising discussion about it. So I tell people, mind you, I have the question in the back of my brain computer, why would they do it? And I was actually in my kitchen cooking hands in dishwater, and the computer came with the answer. And what I started thinking about was things that were said within the system. Number one, the system said that we, as people of color, were minorities. And the other emphasis that was even greater than the factor, the numerical factor, was that we were supposed to be genetically inferior to people who classified themselves as white. Now I say, spend as much time in school as you can.
Obviously, let me know your thoughts too. If you feel that she's wrong, mind you, this is an elder. But if you feel that you're wrong, you're definitely entitled to your thoughts. But please leave them though. You understand? A lot of times people, this is helping everybody. This is just not helping one side. All right, you guys enjoy.
Spend as much time in the libraries as you can. Spend as much time in bookstores as you can. Reading, repeat after me, reading is more important than watching TV. Say it again. Reading is more important than watching TV. See, everything is in books. Everything is in books. And I say beware of these little small things that you can hold in your hand, where you think you're getting as much information as if you're holding a book. Just beware. So with all of the reading and all of the going to school that I had done, I said, wait a minute. People of color on this planet are the overwhelming majority. Black, brown, red, and yellow people are 9/10 majority on this planet. The other thing, that we are supposed to be genetically inferior, and I said, well, wait a minute. See, in my mind, I'm talking to wait a minute. Black people, people of color, are genetically dominant in terms of skin coloration compared to people who classify themselves as white. And I said, I've got it. Just like that, standing in the kitchen, cooking, hands in the dishwater. I said, this is the answer. So let me put it on the board.